Thank you for joining us today for our webinar. It is Empowering Recovery and Nurse-Led Holistic Wellness for Residents in Recovery Living. We have Beth Delaney with us today, and we're so thankful that she has joined us to present. I'm going to give just a few minutes for people to hop on, and then I'm going to go through a few slides for Relink, and then I'm going to turn it over to Beth. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you about relink.org. So if you're not familiar with relink.org, my name is Rachel. I do community engagement for Relink, and we are an online database that has thousands of resources. We're up to 16,000 now of resources in the state of Ohio that's free to use and free to be listed on. So when you go to relink.org, this is the first page that you're going to see. This is our home page. And what you're going to want to do is click on Find Help Now. When you click on Find Help Now, you will then enter a location. You can search by city, you can search by zip code, or you can search by county. There's also mile radiuses as well. So you can do 25-mile radius, you can go all the way up to 100-mile radius. So you can expand your search a little bigger by that. There will be a category of care, and as you can see, we have highlighted addiction recovery today. And when you click on that, you'll have some different options that will come up for treatment, housing, support services, harm reduction, and prevention. And as you click into one of those, you'll have even more resources that'll come up in a list. And we always say that you can find a resource in 3 clicks in 30 seconds. So we tried to make it really user-friendly to be able to find resources quickly for those who are in need. This screen just shows when you're clicking on those categories of care. It was really small on that other slide, so you can see a little bit bigger some of the categories that you have to choose from on relink.org. One thing that we always are pointing out is when you are on that home screen, if you click on provider login sign up, that's how you can create either a page for a nonprofit, or if you're a provider, any organization that would like to be listed on Relink, you can create a page there. But you can also create a login that connects you to your organization where you work's page. So you can go in and edit, you can change times, you can edit information like addresses, or even in the free text box. So we always encourage people to have a person at their organization that goes in and logs in and keeps the information up to date. One project that we're working on really heavily this year is keeping the bed capacity up to date for providers. It takes less than a minute, and we encourage people to do that weekly for your organization, show how many current beds that you have open. We're happy to help with any of this information and getting it, either you a login and a sign up, or helping you know how to edit your bed capacity. You can always call us, or you can email us at info@relink.org. One other thing we've been pointing out as well is that you can create the website to be all in Spanish. So if that is helpful and you have someone who's Spanish speaking, you can click up in the top right corner, and that will just change everything from English to Spanish. One last slide that I have to share is to show the information for relink.org. So like I said, if you'd like to contact us, you can always call. Onita answers the phones. She's always happy to help. We have our email address down here, info@relink.org, and you can always follow us on social media. We're posting updates of things that we're doing in the community, important things that are happening within the state of Ohio, as well as things like our upcoming webinars. We also have a newsletter. If you'd like to be a part of our newsletter, you can let us know, and we'd be happy to add you to that. It comes out quarterly, and it has a lot of great information in there as well. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to turn it over to Beth. She's going to share a little bit about her credentials and introduce herself, and then she's going to present. Thank you, Beth.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for the folks at Relink and the Dalton Foundation for having me today. I really, really appreciate it. So I'm going to share my screen as we get started today. Let's see if you can see everything. I am screen sharing. Can you see my screen, Rachel?
I see right now it's showing Zoom as
Okay.
being.
Well, then it should be now showing. How's that?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Gonna hit the presenter view and hopefully that's going to be good for all of you. Does that look correct as soon as it loads?
Yep, it looks like it's gonna come up.
Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Because all I'm seeing is a blank screen right now, so I'm not sure. Are you seeing a, there we go.
Oh, there we go. Yep.
Oh, I see. It's one ahead. Okay, great. So my name is Beth Delaney. I'm a doctor of nursing practice. I've been a family nurse practitioner for over 30 years. My background is in the oncology, palliative care, and hospice space. And as we get started today, while Rachel was telling you a little bit about Relink, I clicked over and saw who was in attendance, and I see that there's a friend or two. So thank you so much for coming. But I'm going to ask Rachel if she would just mind the chat for me as I do this little brief introduction. If you came to this webinar are truly interested in a specific question, I'm going to ask Rachel to just chime in and tell me what's coming in the chat, because I want to be sure that I address your questions because your time is so valuable. Because the truth is, you literally could be watching the women's gymnastics team right now at the Olympics, and they probably are going to win the gold. And that will be way more exciting. I mean, I would totally get it if you want to go do that. However, I feel like that this has been such an exciting project to be a part of. Now you say, well, why all that experience in the oncology and hospice space? How'd you get into sober living and this pilot program? I'm so glad you asked. Well, I love being an innovator, and I love growing things and helping people. One of the things that is part of my history, which leads to this day, is my father had severe alcohol use disorder. He was a Marine, and he was in a car accident, and that led to chronic back pain. That led to further coping with alcohol use disorder. That was a very sad time. It was when I was a kid. And so that was challenges for over a decade for our family. So when I met my husband, we were high school sweethearts. I thought, in the back of my mind, I thought, ooh, I really like this guy. There's lots of things to like about my husband. If you don't know him, his name is Pastor Greg Delaney. Um, but I'm sure part of my subconscious was thinking, ooh, he's a church boy, he's an athlete, he's really funny, he sings a lot, he's really good, and quite probably he will not go down that path of alcohol use disorder like your father. So we had this wonderful, and we don't have time today to tell our story, but our story leads to the high school sweethearts graduate from college and have very successful careers. And then one day in my husband's late 20s, he realized that he could cope with alcohol to numb pain. And that leads our family into a 12-year battle with severe alcohol use disorder, which culminated in July of 2008 of my husband almost dying from liver failure and infections, sepsis in the ICU at Miami Valley Hospital. So the good news is, after a lot of amazing things, and I would say personally, as a person of faith, divine intervention, my husband now has been in long-term recovery for 16 years. And so I found myself with my family and other members of my family who have struggled with mental illness and journeys of recovery themselves, to be a place where I feel like take all that experience of over 30 years and let's try some things in the recovery space and see if they stick, which leads me to today. So Rachel, As I launch into the presentation, were there anything in the chats that people were specifically interested in?
We know we had somebody who introduced themselves, so thank you for doing that and leaving that in the chat, but nothing yet, but I will keep watching it.
Okay, great. Just chime in if that happens.
Okay, great.
All right, so I want to tell you about you already saw the title of our program. So in 2022, the end of 2022 into 2023, I became the Chief Wellness Officer at HerStory House in Xenia, Ohio. HerStory collaborated with Safe Harbor Houses, and now we have merged as of January 2024. We provide a holistic approach, a body, mind, spirit approach, a client-centered recovery care. We provide housing through an appropriate detox. We provide case management, transportation services, social work, sober living, life skills, outpatient mental health support for women who are on a recovery journey. We wondered in 2023, at the time I was part of the board of directors at HerStory, and we wondered, as our small little group of board of directors, what would happen if we added purposeful wellness strategies into the recovery journey for a woman? Would it make a difference if we changed the traditional role of the nurse a bit and started that a body, mind, spirit approach where we're just really focused on wellness from the time that a person comes into a recovery journey? So what we did is to look into the literature, and the literature offered some things that I just want to highlight here. As we all know, substance use and mental health issues continue to be a challenge in our society. Oftentimes, nurses work in the area of recovery and mental health in this particular space or substance use disorder to distribute medications, support adherence to medications, and oftentimes that's really focused on that detox, that very first few week to 2 week time frame. We also know that from additional studies, nurses can appreciate the work and they love working with people in this space. And those are inpatient and ambulatory settings. However, that non-pharmacologic support that registered nurses are trained to provide is not really abundant in the literature and really not the focus of potentially a registered nurse's role in a recovery journey. Simultaneously, we know that wellness is an emerging topic in healthcare today. So we put together a little team. Started with me just having an idea with the support of our board of directors, and quickly became a DNP student, a master's of a nursing student, and a retired nurse volunteer. And we worked at 2 houses 2 days a week on Monday and Tuesday, one at Safe Harbor and one at HerStory. We decided to implement a new nursing service, and we wondered if a registered nurse focused on, from the moment of contemplation through recovery living, educating the client on a body, mind, spirit approach from that very first visit that a nurse could provide within the first week of them coming into our care. So at intake in our ambulatory settings, the clients, as the nurses, we reviewed the medication list, their medication list. We tried to assess what understanding they had about their medicines. We looked in to see if they had chronic condition medications that maybe they weren't using because of their substance use disorder. And we wondered if we could contact their previous providers to see if there were refills left on their medication list, and so on. We also wondered if they had any connection to primary care, OB-GYN care, behavioral health care, and when and if they even had visits scheduled, because substance use disorder can get in the way and delay services. We also wondered if they were aware of all the public health services that were available. For example, screening and testing for HIV, Hep B, Hep C, TB testing, and free treatments. We wondered if we provided evidence-based, informed weekly wellness programming that was literacy appropriate, taught purposefully, and with an assessment in that client-centered mindset. Could we make a difference on their overall health and wellness? And could we strengthen community connections for these clients and for the organization as a whole? Our result, excuse me. So we did our pilot that launched in March of 2023, and you see these results that happened between March through July of 2023, about a year ago. We had 33 possible clients. And what was interesting about those clients, and I'm going to move my screen over here just a bit, is that the age range was 21 to 60 years. Our mean age was 38 years, and 100% of these clients were homeless. All of them were 200% below the poverty line. And of those 33, 2 left AMA and 1 was dismissed within the first 24 hours of them arriving to HerStory at our location called Recovery Beginnings. Excluding these 329 of 30 clients at Recovery Beginnings were seen at least one time by a member of the nursing team. So we were very excited that we were able to accomplish seeing clients 96.6% of the time. But we knew that also looking at the literature, that when you think about people and women that are homeless, they also have a lack of access to preventative care. And if they have comorbid conditions, this can further exacerbate those medical conditions. A 2022 study by Keshab and Subduti puts it this way: individuals experiencing homelessness are known to have increased rates of healthcare utilization when compared to the average patient population, often attributed to their complex healthcare needs and undertreated comorbid conditions. Unhoused individuals also experience higher rates of diabetes than average, and often attributed to a lack of proper nutrition. Diabetes causes many complications for this population because it needs monitoring. While all chronic conditions pose their own difficulties, diabetes necessitates rigorous self-monitoring, frequent medication dose adjustments, and dietary adherence to prevent serious complications. The lack of access to regular medical care exacerbates the issue for the homeless and can lead to macrovascular complications, soft tissues infections. And in another study by Sharan in 2023 and Sharan's team, communities of color are affected by homelessness and resulting in medical conditions disappropriately. So we're going to talk about that mean age again in just a minute, but the literature supports that homeless need for that community connection to be very strong because they're battling oftentimes, besides just substance use disorder, potentially other mental health issues and comorbid conditions. Excuse me. Okay, so that like really fast forwarded. Okay, here we go. So what were we also able to do in our pilot? We were able to strengthen 63 individual community connections. So since the implementation in that pilot program, there were a total of 18 medical and primary care visits that were facilitated. The team saw 17 of 18 of those clients of the small group. So there were 29. 18 of the 29 were able to be seen by a primary care person. And of those 18, the nurses saw 94% of those, which is great, which means we almost got to the 50% rate of people getting to a primary care person. However, that just means that there's half that still needed to be connected to a primary care person. When we asked staff if they thought that since we've implemented the nursing program, that there was an increase in connection to primary care, they would have told you that yes, indeed, there was a significant increase in the number of primary care visits and the consistency of visit scheduling within that first week of a person coming to HerStory. So continuing on, the other thing we were able to do in the pilot is to not only have 63 individual client community connections, but we strengthened our organization to 14 other community connections in surrounding right around our areas, meaning that we went to those organizations, we talked to them about our goals, and we were able to institute regular visits by Public Health Weekly as new clients came into our organization. We had a collaboration then with a pharmacy who was also able to deliver medications to our location. We got connected to the local FQHC to strengthen possibilities for care there, and a local homeless shelter. So strengthening community connections was a goal, making sure that patients or clients understood their medications, and then A next or a third goal was to make sure that we were delivering those weekly literacy appropriate, evidence informed, client centered wellness classes. So we developed something called For You Wellness Wisdom. You can see a sample on the screen of what the weekly handout looked like. The nurses would create the handout based on evidence. It would be one page. We would sit around basically the tables with the clients. Clients would get a copy of the handout, and we would have clients read through a section, and then we would have a discussion. The back of each handout had information about where they might record something that they were interested in working on as a small, sustainable step of change, and then maybe setting a goal for the upcoming week. And then the following week, we would go back to the clients and ask them if they were able to achieve their wellness class goal, and see if there were any questions when they implemented those goals. Over time, we were able to create 25 mini classes. The classes basically last about 30 minutes, and they ranged in a lot of different topics that we'll talk about more in just a moment. In regards to having the weekly wellness classes, as I said before, they were 30 to 45-minute classes. Sometimes the clients were so interested, they had a lot of things to say and questions. So that was great. We loved talking with them. We had 53 times that an individual sat in class, to the average of just 4 or 5 clients per class. We did a total of 15 classes at HerStory and 38 at our number of clients at Safe Harbor House. So again, when you think about the continuum of care for HerStory now is one organization where Recovery Beginnings, which is like phase 1, and Safe Harbor, which is Recovery Living, is under the same organization, but it's a continuum of care. Clients can stay now 15 to 18 months is what the typical stay is if they go across the trajectory or the continuum. This is an example of the handout style and the program components. So as I've said to you before, I just made this handout for when I was speaking to other organizations and other interested parties about the program. We were, again, thinking about a new role for the registered nurse based upon a body, mind, spirit approach, which is evidence-based, research, literacy appropriate, and focused on the client. We implemented weekly wellness classes, and then something that I hadn't shared with you yet, but oftentimes for interested clients, particularly, we would have the class that they would attend, but then we would do things like those medication visits, coming back and one-on-one coaching them about medications. We did individual nursing visits that were outside of the wellness class. If you look to the bottom of this handout, you can see that those were in the earlier in their recovery. These are some of the topics that we created, those 25 different classes: how active addiction affects nutrition, how food helps health, reading labels, what to drink, water versus soda, sugar, the importance of stretching, and let's exercise. For those who are in recovery housing, we went further as in trying to, again, focus on what seemed most appropriate for the client, where they were in their recovery journey. So things like sleep, how to assure good sleep, vital signs, botanicals, vitamins and minerals, good hygiene for health, tips for healthy eating, portion control, salt, hand washing, neuroplasticity, etc. These continue to grow. Now, after we did our short pilot program that ended about a year ago, we discovered that we had some surprises in that journey. One of our surprises was the age of clients. And what was interesting about that, as I came into this space from traditional healthcare settings. So I've worked in large academic institutions, community, large health centers, inpatient, outpatient. My suspicion, or what I thought, was when I got into working in this recovery space, that my clients would be in their 20s and maybe some 30s, but I was very wrong. And as you saw earlier, our range of age was from 20s to 60s. As you're going to see also, I've done some further connection with other recovery organizations, and this seems to be true across organizations. So clients that are in recovery houses could be age 40, 50, 60, and oftentimes are facing multiple comorbid conditions. And the truth is, we still operate, so this is Beth Delaney's observation, in silos, meaning that medical silos of specialty, like one specialty takes care of the heart, one specialty takes care of the lungs, one specialty takes care of the cancer, one specialty takes care of the mental health. Well, for these folks particularly, I feel like the systems are not talking to each other. They're disjointed, and I think there's some misperceptions in both sides, both the physical, medical model kinds of settings, but also the behavioral health settings, where they're seeing the rise of these comorbid conditions, the age of the clients, and the need for truly bringing back the medical world and the behavioral health world. And I would say the spiritual and interdisciplinary supportive care simultaneously is really critical to provide that wonderful support for people in recovery. There is still an amount of stigma and fear from healthcare providers about working with this population, which saddens me and excites me that you're on this call, because reducing stigma is an important part of our work. And there's so much great potential for people in recovery. We need to make sure that the people in recovery understand and provide appropriate health literacy for our teaching and education. And we really need to train our fellow healthcare providers on this need for this holistic approach. As we went through, like with many things, there are surprises, there are victories, and there's always challenges. So what was the challenging? Well, the fiscal timing. Many nonprofits, especially smaller, middle-sized to smaller ones, have oftentimes donor bases, grant funding, billing possibilities. These are all sometimes great to have multiple lanes of funding, but they don't always coincide, and that makes offering additional critical layers of support and education. It's a wonderful thing, but it also makes it challenging fiscally. Learning to figure out the best billing strategies for a new innovative effort like this, it's always something that you have to figure out. One of the things that was a challenge that I didn't expect until it was actually happening was we would go potentially to a house for a wellness class, but simultaneously, one of the clients is having an emotional time in the house, and that can impact all the people in the house. And you just have to figure out how to be flexible and love and care, support people and staff where they are. So you just have to be flexible. One of the other additional challenges that we had is nurses were well-meaning, care managers and case managers were well-meaning, and sometimes we weren't communicating well. So we quickly fixed that problem with a check-in at the beginning of the week, kind of a huddle. What happened as a result? Well, I'm going to tell you an exciting what happened here in just a minute, but we had some really positive things happen with the clients. Word got out, and we had the opportunity to work. We're located in Greene, Clark, and Madison counties, but also we take care of clients who are in Montgomery County, and Montgomery County learned about our work, and they wanted to sponsor our work through October 1st of this year. So that's been very exciting. We got local leader support. We've expanded and planned our wellness class strategy and evolved what we offer each week in our wellness classes. We are exploring business model expansion and further strengthening and broadening community connection. We're dedicated to a personalized, holistic, evidence-informed, literacy appropriate approach. As of this month, our team has conducted 12 stakeholder interviews in all different sizes of recovery organizations to kind of see their perspectives on what they might think about a program like this and how could it become fiscally sustainable. We are evolving a variety of business models We now have 5 pilot sites that are going to be funded by the Montgomery County Pilot Program Initiative. And we now have started this wellness class idea in 3 of the 5, which is very exciting. We created an initial evaluation plan, and we've developed the evaluation plan, which also led into a formal Institute Research Board approval at Cedarville University for our work in this project. Our pilot sites are HerStory Safe Harbor face-to-face, HerStory Safe Harbor virtual, Woodhaven, Ohio, Hope Hub, His Hope, and Joshua Recovery Ministries. We've learned so many things on our journey as we have grown this project. We feel very blessed to have the opportunity to help women in recovery, and now men and moms with babies. We know that leaders are interested, especially within existing program schedules, that clients are interested in learning, especially when content is truly tailored for a recovery journey. They are all innovators, and a like-minded partner is a huge blessing, because when you're in a pilot program, you're learning every single day and you have to be flexible. Life's inevitabilities are impacts, so you do your best, like vacations, or like a house getting COVID, or like a house moving and the plumbing doesn't work. We know that, and we've learned again and have reinforced that grant funding and billing revenue cycles have many challenges. They have gaps. So sustaining a program like this could face gaps in funding. So you have to figure out how to navigate those. And it's not easy, but we're trying really hard. Flexibility and hope is crucial. I wanted to end my part of the presentation because I'm hoping that we can have some discussion by really summarizing an impact of what I've been seeing. When we started this program back last year, we wondered if it would resonate with people, and we wondered if clients would think that it was a value. Within the first 2 months, as we started to meet one-on-one, that very first week that a client was in recovery, we would purposefully go through a body, mind, spirit approach. And the reason that that was important is, as I mentioned earlier, registered nurses traditionally in recovery have worked primarily in detox and not necessarily doing some of that education or one-on-one coaching and encouragement that registered nurses totally can do for clients in a sober living setting. So we would talk with clients, and I can tell you personally, 4 different times when I would share with clients, here you are at HerStory, we are working on a body, mind, spirit approach. What that means is you're going to be in outpatient, intensive outpatient care. You're going to have a mental health counselor. You're going to have opportunities to attend faith-based spiritual type recovery meetings. So you're going to have spiritual opportunities, you're going to have mental health opportunities. But here at HerStory, we believe that registered nurses can help you with physical parts of your recovery, because we know, or what we've observed is, if we help try to get those physical things managed earlier in the recovery journey, your ability to pay attention and focus on your journey and in those mental health and those spiritual opportunities increases. So literally we tell them and talk to them about, so when you think about the nurses are going to be focused on that physical part. 4 different times over the course of about 8 weeks, I would be looking at my computer and back at the client, and 2 times particularly stick out in my mind, where I looked at the client and tears were rolling down their face. And some very close version of, "Where have you been?" would come out of their mouths. And that was encouraging to our team, because we knew that maybe, just maybe, we've innovated, or we've caught onto something that would make a difference in a person's life. Some of the references that I spoke about are included in today's presentation. I added a couple this morning that I would need to add into here. Um, But I really want to thank you for your interest today. I really want to thank you if you work with anyone in your family, friends, organizations who are helping people in recovery. Hats off to you and all the important work that you do. This is my email address. I would be so happy to take or connect with any of you, and I would love to see if you have any questions. Okay, Rachel, how's that, friend?
That was great. Thank you so much. That information was great. We did have someone ask if the slides would be available after
Sure.
the presentation.
I can send those out to you after we get done today.
Great. Yeah, we're always happy. We send a follow-up email, so we'll send out any additional resources that Beth would like us to, obviously the slides and then the recording. If you know anyone who might want to watch it afterward, feel free to share that recording with them. I'll look, and it doesn't look like we have any other questions right now, but I thought that was great information. I liked your slides. Yeah, they were really good.
All right. Well, thank you again. And thanks to everyone who participated. If you have any questions or anything, or you'd like to talk further, I'd be more than happy to do so.
Thank you so much. Thanks for taking your time today to come and share with us. And thank you for all that have joined. Have a great day.
You guys too. Bye-bye.
Bye.